We got new polls. Of course we do. Every day we got new polls on Iowa, and every day it's a new batch of fun. So yesterday, the new polls had come in from CNN and Time that showed all of a sudden Mitt Romney ahead by 25 to 22% over Ron Paul. And then more importantly, or interestingly, Rick Santorum coming in at number 3 at 16%. So that made big news. Rick Santorum has, you know, I was going to go graphic, but I'll say he's very excited, okay? And right now he's going around the state going, what now? What now? I knew it. Now remember, Rick Santorum is the guy who had the tour to visit all 99 counties, I believe it is, in Iowa. And he was going nowhere, and he was getting there fast, and he thinks his strategies work. Dude, your strategy didn't work. The only reason you're rising now is because no one's bothered to run a single negative ad about you, because no one's bothered to run a single ad against you or for you. No one's bothered with you at all. So people looked around, they're like, oh, Bachmann, disaster. Perry, disaster. Gingrich, disaster. I don't know, Santorum? So that's why Santorum's doing all right now. But he is, of course, giddy because we're very, very close to the election. It's next Tuesday. So this is the right time to peak. Santorum, unbelievably, is peaking. But
to all the non-believers. How did that? To all the non-believers. Especially you, Tom Jackson.
Now, look, if you asked me if Rick Santorum had a chance, I would have told you.
Hell no, you can't.
Or,
hell no.
Okay, I'll tell you both of them. Hey, Santorum, you got no chance at this. In fact, not I would have, I did. Remember when I eliminated him? Like months ago? Pounded the gavel on him? Who's pounding gavel now? Who's pounding wood now? All right, so Santorum rising. But new poll out today, Insider Advantage, Majority Opinion Research. Now the fun continues. We've got a three-way tie in this poll. Ron Paul, Mitt Romney, and Newt Gingrich all tied at 17%. Rick Santorum fourth in that one at 13%. Pulling away just a tiny bit from Bachmann and Perry. Bachmann's at about 12, Perry's at 10.5. So, look, the big Santorum strategy obviously is come in third here and be the candidate for evangelical voters, try to do well in the other states where there's a lot of evangelical voters. In fact, there's two things that go in his favor and against him there. Number one, Iowa has the highest percentage of GOP evangelical voters. That's at 60% of the voters are evangelical Christians, which is a huge number. That's why Pat Robertson did so well so many years ago in Iowa as a Republican candidate. But, you know, overall, all GOP voters in the primaries, 44% of them are evangelical voters. Now, the only reason why Mitt Romney is doing well, and he's excited as he can be, he thought he had no chance in Iowa. All of a sudden, he's sitting at number one in 2 straight polls, tied for number one in one and by himself in another, right? And you know what he's saying? He's like, quote, why don't we just caucus right now? He's like, it's go time. Let's do it, guys. Come on.
Get.
Let's go to the vote. Let's go to the voting areas and caucus. Let's do it, right? Because if he came in number one in Iowa, he's thinking, oh, the dream scenario. One in Iowa, one in New Hampshire. Game over. End of this. No more primary caucus, nothing. It's just Romney steamroller from there on out. Look, even if he won Iowa and New Hampshire, I don't think that's necessarily the case because he'd lose South Carolina, and he wasn't doing well in Florida, but we'll see if things change there. But, of course, he's close to his dream scenario. So what's going on here? Well, the Santorum advantage is, as I explained, it's because they've tried the rest, and like, let's put Santorum to the test. But again, if you Google Santorum, that's probably not something you want to put to the test. But as far as Romney, the reason he's doing well, and honestly Ron Paul as well, is because the evangelical voters have split up their votes. So Steve Kornacki had a really great article today saying it's the great irony of the evangelical voters that they're so anti-Romney, and a lot of them are anti-Ron Paul, that they have split up their votes among the other three guys, and hence the only guys who are not getting the evangelical votes as much, Romney and Paul, are the two leaders. That's wonderful irony on the Republican side. So it's still any man's race, except apparently Newt Gingrich. Now again, in the last poll, he's tied for first, kind of. He's at the lower end of that 17% at 16.7. But apparently his campaign already thinks it's over. One of his chief strategists, Joe DeSantis, said about Iowa, quote, "Oh, I think anywhere in the top 5 would be surviving Iowa." Oh, damn. In other words, they had an internal conversation. They said, "Hey, Newt, can you win this nomination in at least in Iowa?"
Hell no, you can't!
Apparently not, man. That thing is gone, okay? Top 5? You remember just a couple of weeks ago, Newt Gingrich is out here going, "Well, I'm going to be the nominee. What difference does it make? I'm going to be the nominee." And he's throwing his weight around. Go. Is this race still going on? They hadn't taken a single vote yet. Here's DeSantis again. "Considering we've been outspent 30-1 on the air, that's still being very competitive for 4th place right now. And frankly, really not that far off from being in the top tier in Iowa is still pretty impressive." Wrong again, Bob. Not at all impressive. If you think you've got the nomination locked up and you're talking about how you're competitive for 4th in Iowa when you were leading just 2 weeks ago in that state, disaster.